Hi folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead. I wanted to jump in on a subject that I talked about once before on the channel. It's definitely something that should be talked about more. And this isn't necessarily a video response, but another channel that I watch and someone that I know, Sister Kate from Shofar Mountain is her channel. And she did a video on, community drama and stuff, and talked about community of homesteaders, community of preppers and stuff like that, and kind of the drama amongst them. And I don't know that this is necessarily a response to that, but it did kind of spark me to think some more on it, and I thought I would put my 2 cents in on it. So some of you may just be a lone wolf. Maybe you're a lone wolf because out of necessity. You have no other choice. Maybe you're a lone wolf because you choose to be, and that's fine. But at some point now or in the future, you're going to interact with people. You may have this grand idea that as a lone wolf that, you can just go off into the woods and survive for the rest of eternity completely on your own without having any interaction with other people. And that's just not how it works. So you're going to need to be able to have at least some level of community or connection with people. Let me adjust my camera just a little bit. And for the rest of us, I think we kind of seek that. Whether it's in a homesteading situation where you're wanting a community around you of homesteaders, people that you know, maybe it's for spiritual beliefs that you seek out people that are like-minded. Preppers do the same thing. Maybe you're wanting to form or have formed or in the middle of or whatever, a mag or some type of, preparedness type group. And so how does that all work out, and how do you deal with the drama and the clash of personalities? A few years back, I became interested on the subject of that, well, that's not correct. I became interested in how tribal communities have lived in the past and how some still live around the world and how they do it successfully versus our society, our culture, our civilization, which while we may live next to each other, whether it's in a neighborhood or in an apartment complex, we are very disconnected from each other. And when we form ourselves in any sort of a group, the problems end up being a clash of personalities. People can't get along with each other. And so I became interested in that, and I did some research and reading. I actually visited some intentional communities. Some people they used to call them communes. Now they're intentional communities. And I visited 3 or 4 that were set up differently. Each one was kind of different. Not because I wanted to live there or anything. I just, wanted to visit and see how things worked. And if you go back when the communes kind of started back in the 60s, and the intentional communities today, usually the typical reason why they fail, it's not because of money and, resources or that sort of thing. It's because the people just can't get along after a while and they kind of break up. So how do we overcome that? Because right now we need to have a certain kind of community. It may be one of those situations like an intentional community where a group of you want to live on the same property. Maybe it's just your neighbors around you. Maybe it's people in your area that you communicate with, that you build kind of a sort of a tribe with. And then after SHTF, after the big balloon goes up, you're definitely going to need to have that. And you're going to need to have it where you can trust each other, and that you can get along with each other, because that's the key. You need to be able to get along. Nowadays, let's just say, for instance, let's say an intentional community. And I know that's not for everyone, that's fine, but I'm just going to use an example. So in today's world, a group of people form an intentional community, which meaning that they kind of all live on the same piece of property. Regardless of what the reasonings are and the rules and how it's set up, it doesn't matter. If they don't get along, if they start clashing and personalities clash, well, they can always just pack up and leave. Even if it's a financial cost to them, they always have that option of just like, well, forget you guys, I'm going back to, my old life. After, the catastrophic end of the world happens and you're living as some sort of a community, you won't necessarily have that option. You won't be able to just say, well, I'm going to move back to the city. It may not exist anymore. You're going to have to learn how to get along. And so that's the kind of the subject that I'm wanting to focus on is how do we get along? Well, I don't have that answer necessarily. But what I do have, or what I do know, is that in tribal communities in the past, from the reading that I've done, of research done on past tribal communities all across the globe, and tribal communities that still exist today, is people viewed each other and their places within the community differently than we do today with each other. They believed in privacy and in independence and things like that, but they also believed that the importance of the tribe sticking together was more important than your individual needs. Now, I get it, where a lot of your minds are going, that sounds like communism. It's not. That's what communists want you to think. They want you to think that communism is just like this utopian tribal communities that's been going on for eons. I got a tree poking me over here, a branch. Get out of here. That's what they want you to believe. That communism is no different than tribal community. No, it is different. But we won't get into that right now. It's that people viewed their place as an individual and the place within that community and that tribe differently than we do nowadays. We're so disconnected in a me world. We want, it's all about ourselves. We want to focus on ourselves. It's all about my needs, what I want, bettering myself, enriching myself, all this, and we don't care so much about the guy that lives in the apartment next to you, because you don't know him, and he's kind of on his own, just like you're on your own. If he works harder and does better, that's fine, and if he doesn't and becomes homeless, oh well for him, huh? In a community, in a tribal type of community, it's very different. If your neighbor, your fellow member of the tribe, of the community, succeeds in life, then that helps the entire tribe succeed, because everything is revolving around each other and how they work together. And I may not be explaining this correctly. I may not be getting my point across, but I'm trying. We have to start to learn to accept each other and understand that as a community now, start doing this now with, maybe your homestead community, maybe your, prepper mag, whatever it is, your church group, maybe you meet on Saturdays or whatever it is. Start realizing that we can't become so focused on the little nitpicky things, and that we can't be so focused on my specific needs. As a group, we should be concerned with each individual needs, and that sometimes I have to put myself in the background and focus more on the community, the tribal needs. These are things that's going to make or break your community after an SHTF. You may have all the food and supplies and guns and everything else, but if you guys can't get along in your community, well, none of the rest of that matters. You're going to be fighting each other more than you're going to be fighting outsiders trying to come in and take your stuff. And this is a problem that I foresee a lot of groups, especially from a preparedness focus, prepper groups, mags, different things like that, of having, is that they're focused on getting their gear together to have their place together where they can all go meet after SHTF, and then they forget to work on how they're going to work things out together as a community. It's very interesting. It would take an extremely long video, so I'm not going to go into it. I would encourage those of you that are, thinking along this line, or that are very interested in either forming or being part of like a mag or something like that, of having plans for after SHTF, of doing some of this research. of seeing how tribes interact today and in the past, because it's pretty much all the same, of how they, when someone does something wrong to one another, how do they handle it? They come together as a tribe, they talk about it, you know, they work it out amongst them, you know, instead of, you know, two people bickering and fighting and stabbing each other in the back, which is what happens today. You know, look at social media. You know, someone says something the wrong way, and then you get attacked and, you know, called names, and it goes back and forth. That kind of stuff doesn't happen in a tribe, because they know that if this person and this person end up hating each other and having these grudges and hard feelings, it hurts the entire community. So they have different ways of working out these differences. And then the individuals themselves, they already know in their head that while my brother or sister, my friend, my neighbor, whatever, may do things that annoy me, they may have a personality that I don't particularly like, but for the good of the community, I just kind of look beyond it, because I don't have any other choice. Like I said, in today's world, we have a choice. So if you are on one of these intentional communities and it doesn't work out, you can move off of it. But if you went down and let's say you visited a tribe in the, you know, Amazonian jungle, those people don't just have the option of like, well, if this tribe doesn't work out, I'll just go live somewhere else. That's where they're born, live, and they die within that tribe. And so they learn to work out their problems. You and I may find ourselves in that situation at some point in our lives. If a truly catastrophic event happens that, you know, changes the world as we know it, we may have to band together in small communities to survive. And to survive meaning that we have to work together. We have to learn to live together. We have to learn to accept each other's differences, to look beyond each other's differences, and to realize that for us to successfully survive, the tribe has to successfully survive. And for the tribe to successfully survive, then we have to put aside our differences and not be so offended and, excuse the term, butthurt, because we don't like what this person says or does. This I see as a real problem, because so much, you know, I can remember just a few years ago when social media first started becoming really popular, it was that kind of behavior was, you know, seen in like the younger people. Well, that's how younger people act. But yet if you get on social media to now, I see people my age and older behaving in that manner, of this little bickering, you know, social justice warriors, you know, trying to act like they're tough, that kind of stuff. And I feel that it's starting to overflow into the real world, of stories I hear, people I know, and just my own personal interactions in this world, of people that don't know how to work and live together. They may live just a few feet from their neighbor, but they have no idea what that person is like, and they don't care, and they don't want to interact and work with them, because we're so disconnected from the world around us. You know, our connection is the internet, is not each other. And so I see this as being a serious problem. Again, you can be completely prepared in every possible way, but if you don't have this area down of learning how to interact with your friend, your brother, your neighbor, your member, your tribe member, whatever you want to call it, then you're going to have some serious problems. It's not going to be successful, and then you're not going to have the option to just walk away and say, well, I'm going to go back to where I was living and live there, because it may not exist any longer. Living in that tribe may be the only way that you really survive, and as a family. So we have to learn to work problems out. And even if you don't find yourself in like a tribal community type setting, it may just be your neighbors down the road that you're working with, that you're kind of banding together, maybe going on patrols, trading, you know, having trade relations with, and stuff like that. We need to learn how to interact as humans with other humans again. And it's like we've forgotten about that. We've lost that ability, because there's been so much computer technologies, the internet, that type of stuff in our lives, that we forgot about that just simple social interaction that used to be commonplace. People actually knew their neighbors. They talked to them. They hung out. You know, they They knew people at work. They hung out with people from their church, that sort of thing. And it didn't mean that they liked everyone. They understood that everyone was different, and some differences you just kind of can look beyond and get over. Nowadays, everyone has to, if you don't agree with them, if you don't, think the same way, if you don't believe the same way, then you're just nuts and wrong, and I've got to beat you up and attack you for it. That's kind of the mentality today. So this is something that I foresee as being a real problem, because, homesteaders, preppers, whatever, gnat flying around my face here, whatever it is that you call yourself, if you either now or in the future or after SHTF have some idea of having a community setting, whether on the same piece of property or within an area, trade relations, working relations, living relations, whatever it is, if we don't fix this problem that we have created into our modern society of not being able to interact and communicate and live with and around each other, then there's going to be a lot of failures happen. People just can't get beyond their differences. It's constant little, gossiping, backbiting problems. I mean, and it's not just in prepper homesteading community. I mean, the churches are this way. Work situations are that way. All this, that people can't get beyond their differences. They can't let something just go and realize that we've got to work together to achieve a certain goal that's more important than my little feelings because you said something that I didn't like. I know that may be harsh, but I foresee that as being a real problem in our circles. And I would like to think that those of us that share these same ideals can get beyond that and can work beyond that. And like I suggested, maybe doing a little reading and research into, the social interactions in tribal communities and stuff. I personally found that to be, very helpful of seeing, okay, and it could be primitive tribes that exist today, and it could be just tribes of people that, have lived in the past. Up until not that many years ago, a century or two ago, most everyone on this planet lived in that type of surroundings, that type of setting. They may not always call it a tribe, but there was a close-knit community that actually worked together and helped each other out, and where there was this mutual benefit, mutual benefiting within the community. And then the modern world came around, and now we don't need each other. We just focus on our own personal goals. And again, I'm not talking about communism. It's not the same thing. I'm talking about working together as communities so that as the community succeeds, the individual succeeds. Because there very well could possibly come a day where that is absolutely necessary again in our world for us to survive. So it's something to think about, and I hope that those of you interested in the same things and seeing that as a danger will do the research and kind of work on our own lives of realizing that I can't be so ultra sensitive when someone says or does something that I don't like. We all have our opinions, and that's okay. Anyways, that's kind of my 2 cents on the whole drama of homesteaders and preppers and community. And we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think. I'm sure many of you will anyways. All right, folks. Well, have a good day, and I'll catch you in the next video.